Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to see how to add users in Linux via the command line interface, also known as the CLI, as well as the Graphical User Interface, also known as the GUI. Now, to demonstrate this, we are going to use a Debian-based system as well as a Red Hat system. Now, for the Debian-based system, we have Ubuntu 22.04. And for the Red Hat system, we are going to demonstrate using Rocky Linux 9. Now, in Debian or Ubuntu systems, the adduser command is the command that is used to add a user to your current Linux system. Now, the adduser command is an interactive tool that lets you specify the user details when adding the user. The syntax for adding a user using the adduser command is as follows. So on your command line, run the command sudo adduser followed by the name of the user. So in this case, we are going to add a user called Bob. And by the way, if you're running this command as root user, simply skip sudo and just specify adduser Bob. All right. So we are using sudo here because we are running the command as a sudo user. All right. So hit enter. Now, as you can see, a couple of things happen. So this command creates or adds a new user called Bob. Now, the new user is given a UID or a user ID, which in this case is 1001. And the command also creates a group that is named after the user. So this is the primary group that takes after the user. So as you can see, the user is created as well as a group that is called Bob. Okay, now later the home directory for the user is created. So this is the path to the home directory, and the files from the etc scale directory are copied to the user directory. So here we are prompted for a password. So I'm going to specify the user's password, and this is the password they're going to use to log in. All right, now I'm going to confirm the password. Okay, then I'm going to hit enter, and once you hit enter, you're going to be prompted to provide new values for the user. So here I'm going to type the full name. So in this case, I'm simply going to provide Bob and hit enter. So next, you're going to be prompted to provide other details. Okay, so this is at your discretion. So I'm just going to hit enter to skip providing these details. All right, but feel free to provide the details if you have. Okay, so once you're done, you'll be prompted to check or verify whether the information is correct. So in my case, I'm satisfied, and I'm going to press Y on my keyboard and press enter to confirm. All right, so at this point, the user Bob has already been created. And to confirm this, I'm going to run the command ID followed by the user Bob, like that, and hit enter. So as you can see here, we have the user, the UID, which is 1001. We also have the GID, which is just the same as the UID, 1001, and the user belongs to a group called Bob. Okay, so now this is the primary group that any user belongs to once they are added. All right, similarly, we can check the etc password file. So this is a file that contains user details, and I'm going to pipe the output and filter a name called Bob, like that. So here the -i flag simply ignores case sensitivity. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter, and you can see we have a user called Bob. And this is the UID, this is the GID or the group ID, this is the path to the user's home directory, and this is the default shell. All right, now I'm going to clear the screen. Now additionally, you can use the adduser command alongside the shell argument to specify a different shell that the user should use. So for example, let me assume I'm adding a user called Patrick. So I'm going to run the command sudo adduser. Now, Patrick. Okay. Now I can specify the shell using the shell option like that. Then I can specify the shell, for example, the Bourne shell, like that. Okay, so here I'm specifying the Bourne shell. Now the Bourne shell is typically the original Unix shell, and it's a minimal shell designed for scripting and executing simple commands. Okay, now I'm going to hit enter. So as you can see, we go back to the same drill. Okay, so let me provide the user's password. Then I'm going to confirm it. Okay, so here I'm going to say Patrick, and I'm going just to press enter to accept the defaults, and finally hit Y. All right, so now let's check the details for Patrick. So once again, I'm going to run the command id Patrick. So as you can see, we have a different UID and GID. So this is 1002, okay, and the user Patrick belongs to a group called Patrick. Now let's check the etc password file. So once again, I'm going to filter this information using grep. And once again, you can see we have Patrick's details. Okay, now in this case, you can see now Patrick is using the Bourne shell. Okay, now by default, the adduser command places the user in the born again shell. All right, now the born again shell is simply an improvement of the Bourne shell. All right, so with the shell option, you can specify the shell that a user belongs to. All right, now let's take another example. Now you can, apart from specifying the shell, you can also specify the path to the home directory using the home option. So for example, I'm going to add a user called Alice. So I'm going to run the command sudo adduser Alice. Okay, now by default, the home directory will be /home/Alice, but you can also provide a different path to the home directory. For example, here I can say home, then /home, then I can provide, let's say, /Janice instead of Alice. All right, and as we said earlier, if we opt out or we leave out home, the home option, the adduser command will simply default to /home/Alice. So in this case, we have specified /home/Janice. All right, so let me hit enter. So again, I'll be prompted for the user's password, then I'll confirm it. Okay, then here I'm just going to say Alice, and I'm going to hit enter to accept the defaults, and finally type yes. All right, now when I use the cat command to check more details in the etc password file, I'm going to find that the user has a different path to the expected home directory. So let's do so. So here I'm going to use grep once again, and I'm going to check for Alice. All right, so as you can see, in this case we have /home/Janice. Okay, and this is the path that is specified here. All right, so those are just a few examples of the adduser command, and this will work on across all Debian based distributions, including Ubuntu. Okay, now let's switch over to the graphical interface and see how you can add a user. Adding a user using the graphical interface is a pretty straightforward procedure, and in front of you is a graphical user interface. So I'm running Ubuntu 22.04, as you can see, with the iconic Jammy Jellyfish logo. Now to get moving, simply navigate to the the bottom left corner here, where you're going to see the show applications icon. Now click here, and then you navigate to settings. All right, so I'm going to select settings. So this is going to open the settings window, as you can see. Now On the settings window, just navigate to this search icon here located at the top left corner, and here search for users. Okay, so this will populate an option for users, so you're going to click on this. So currently on my system I have a user called James, as you can see. So this is the only user, the only login user, sorry, that is configured on this system. Now to add more users, I need to unlock. So I'm going to click unlock. So this will prompt me for authentication. So here I'm going to provide my user password. And once I authenticate, I'll now be able to add new users to the system. So now you can see the add user button is now active. So I'm going to create this add user button. And here I'm going to specify the user's full name. So here I'm going to add a user called Linux Techie, like that. Okay, so as you can see, the full name and the username gets autofilled. All right, so now I'm going also to set the user's password. And by the way, you can also select to allow the user to set a password when they next log in. All right, but for now I'm going to set a password. All right, so here I'm going to specify the user's password. Okay, so be sure you provide a strong password and also confirm it. And now with the password confirmed, just hit or click add. Now when you click add, you can see now we have a new user called Linux Techie. Additionally, you can also add the user to the administrator group, all right, which in this case is the sudo group. Now you can just toggle this like that. All right, so now the user belongs to the administrator group. All right, okay, so now that's about it for adding a user using the graphical user interface. So here we can close this window. All right, so now we have seen how to add a user using the CLI and the graphical user interface on Ubuntu, which is a Debian based system. So now let's switch over to Rocky Linux 9 and see how you can achieve the same procedure. On Red Hat systems such as Rocky Linux, the command for adding users is the useradd command. So the useradd command takes the following syntax. So here I'm running as a sudo user, so I'm going to run sudo, then I'm going to invoke useradd command followed by the username that you want to add. So here I'm going to add a user called Bob, then I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so as you have seen, the useradd command, unlike the add user, does not provide an interactive way of adding a user. So immediately after adding the user, you need to configure a password for the user, and to do so, simply run the command sudo password, then followed by the username Bob. Then I'm going to hit enter, and once you do so, you're going to be prompted for the user's password. So here I'm going to provide Bob's password, then I'm going to confirm it. Okay, so as you can see on your screen, the user has successfully been added, and you can confirm this by running the id command followed by the user Bob. Okay, so as you can see, the user Bob has a UID of 1001, which is the same as the GID, and also belongs to a primary group called Bob. All right, now you can also use the useradd command to provide a custom directory for a user. So for example, let's assume you're adding a user called Alice. So the command will be sudo useradd. So you use the -d to provide a custom directory, then followed by the home directory that you want to provide. So in this case, I'm going to say /home/Janice. Okay, then I'm going to provide the username. So in this case, this is the user called Alice. Then I'm going to hit enter. All right, now without adding a password, let's check the attribute of the user Alice, and to do so, I'm going to check the etc password file, which contains information about users. Then I'm going to filter the name Alice, as you can see. So as you can see here, the user Alice has a custom home directory at /home/Janice. All right. Now remember that without specifying the -d option, the useradd command by default places the user in the default user home directory. Okay. So for example, let's see the case with Bob. So if we check the details for Bob, you can see we have the default home directory, which is /home/Bob. All right. So the -d option allows you to specify a different or a custom home directory. So in this case, instead of /home/Alice, we have /home/Janice. All right. Okay. Let me clear the screen. Now, similarly, you can specify a custom UID using the -u option. So for example, let's create a user called Alex. So we're going to have sudo useradd. Then the -u option will allow you to specify a custom UID. So here I'm going to specify 1004. All right. So I'm going to specify Alex, which is the user that I'm going to add. All right. Now let me check using the id command. So I'm going to run id Alex. So as you can see, we get the UID as 1004, which is the same as the GID. All right. Okay, so the useradd command also allows you to create a user with a different login shell. So as we have seen previously in Ubuntu, the default shell is the born again shell, but you can also specify a different shell such as the born shell. Okay, so similarly here you can provide a different, or you can specify a different shell. So you can have sudo useradd. Now you can use the -s option to provide a different shell. So here, let's say for example, you want the user to acquire or to use the born shell like that. Okay. And in this case, let's say we are creating a user called team. All right. So just hit enter. All right. Now, when we view the etc password file, you realize that the shell has now, it indicates the born shell for the user team. Okay, so let's verify this. So grep-i team. So as you can see from the output, team now has a shell which is indicated as a born shell. Okay, so also you can do something like creating a user with a comment. So for example, you can have sudo useradd. So you can pass the -c option. Okay, so the -c flag allows you to add a comment. For example, this is a sysadmin. So let's say we are creating a user called Paul, and Paul is a sysadmin. Okay, so just hit enter, and now we can view the etc password file. And so here we have grep-i Paul, and you can see here on this fourth, or rather this fifth column here, we can see the comment that you have just specified. So this is a sysadmin, and this is what is specified here. All right. Okay, so now we have seen how to add a user on a Red Hat system, and in this case we have used Rocky Linux 9 for demonstration. Let's now go over to the Graphical User Interface and see how you can add a user. As you've seen earlier, the Graphical User Interface, or the GUI, provides users with the simplest way of adding users, and this is especially beneficial for those who do not have the experience or the expertise of running commands on a Linux terminal. So here I am on Rocky Linux, and as you can see, this is a GNOME environment. So just like in Ubuntu 22.04, all you need to do is to head over to the settings section. So here I'm going to click on activities, and here I'm going to click on this applications icon here. Then I'm going to select settings. Okay, so regardless of the desktop environment you're using, you're going to navigate to settings. So as you can see, I already have some pre-existing users here. All right. So now what you need to do is to head over and click on the unlock button here. Okay. So this will prompt me for my authentication. So here I'm going to provide my password to authenticate. All right. So now to add a user, just like we saw in Ubuntu, I'm just going to click add user here. All right. So here I'll be prompted for a user. All right. So let's assume now we want to add a user called Collins. So I'm just going to type Collins and the username will be automatically autofilled. So this is a standard user. All right. Now here you can set a password or allow a user to set a password when they next log in. So this is entirely up to you. So I'm just going to set a password. Okay. So here I'm going to type in the user's password and I'm going to confirm it. All right. You can also choose whether the user will be a standard user or an administrator user. So here I'm going to select an administrator user. All right. And I'm going to click add. And as you can see, the user Collins has successfully been created. All right. And you can see this is an admin user. All right. The password has already been set. Okay. So, all right. So that's how you create a user using the GUI on Rocky Linux 9. And as you have seen, it's pretty much similar to creating a user using a GUI when you're using Ubuntu. So now with the creation of users out of the way, now let's see how you can manage users by modifying their groups and other attributes. So see you shortly on the other end. So now we are back to the CLI, and for the remaining part of this lecture we are going to be using Ubuntu because the commands here are going to be just the same as the ones that would work on a Red Hat system. So in this section we're going to see how you can change user attributes on a Linux system, and one of the most popular tools to use is the usermod command. Now the usermod command is a powerful utility used to modify user accounts or change the properties of a user. You can use it to change various attributes such as the user's home directory, the login name, and even the password expiry date. All right, now you can add a user to the group by running the following usermod command. So you can run the command sudo usermod with a -a and G flag. So the -a appends the user to the group and the G option specifies the group name. So let's, for example, say you want to add the user Bob to the sudo group. So you'd have to run the command sudo usermod -a capital G, then you provide the group that the user is going to be added on. So in this case, this is sudo, and then you provide the username Bob. Now hit enter. So here I'm going to provide my password to enable this operation, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, now to confirm this, you can run the command groups, then followed by the user, in this case Bob, and hit enter. So as you can see from the output, the user Bob now belongs to two groups. We have the primary group called Bob and the secondary group which is called sudo. All right. Also, you can add, let's now add another group. So here I'm going to add Bob to the group Patrick. So here I'm going to change this from sudo to Patrick, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, now once again, let me run the groups Bob command. And you can see now Bob belongs to two groups. We have sudo and Patrick. All right. Okay, now you can remove the user from a group by running the gpassword command. So here you can run sudo, then gpassword, like that, with a -d option. Then you specify the username. So here it's Bob. So I'm going to remove Bob from the Patrick group. So I'm going to specify the group name Patrick here, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, so you can see from the output, removing user Bob from group Patrick. Let's confirm this. So I'm going to run the command groups Bob, and you can see now Bob belongs to the two groups. We have the primary group Bob and the secondary group sudo. All right, you can also run the command id Bob to confirm this. So you can see Bob belongs to two groups, the initial primary group and the sudo group. All right, let me now clear the screen. Also, you can change the login username. All right, so for example, let's change the login username for Alice to something else. So here I'm going to run the command sudo usermod. So to change the login username, use the -l option like that, followed by the new username. So for example, we want to change the login user from Alice to Sandra, like that. Okay, now specify the old username, which is Alice, then hit enter. All right, now to confirm this, you can try logging in as user Alice, and when you do so, you're going to find an error. So let's try now to log in as Alice. So you can see from the terminal that user Alice does not exist, or the user entry does not contain all the required fields. Okay, and the reason for this is because we have changed the login name from Alice to Sandra. Okay, now let's switch back to Alice. So here I'm going to run the command sudo usermod -l, then Alice. So we're just going to do the opposite of our previous command. Okay, so now we are renaming Sandra to Alice. All right, so in this case, the login user will be Alice instead of Sandra. I'm going to hit enter. Now let me try to log in as Alice, and this time around the login will be successful. So you'll be prompted for the password. Okay, so once I provide my password, I should be able to log in as Alice, and I can confirm this by running who am I, Alice. All right, okay, now let me exit. All right, so also you can change the home directory of a user. So let me clear the screen. So earlier on we had changed the login directory from Alice from Alice to Janice. Let's confirm this. So I'm going to check the cat etc. I'm going to confirm the etc password entry for Alice. So here I'm going to specify Alice. So you can see at some point we had changed the home directory for Alice to home Janice, as you can see here. So with the usermod command, you can also change the home directory. And to do so, just run the command sudo usermod, then use the -d flag. All right, so this allows you to change to a new home directory, and you're going to specify this as home Alice, like that. Okay, then I'm going to specify the username. So in this case, it's Alice, and then I'm going to hit enter. Let's confirm this. So I'm going to run the cat command as shown, and as you can see, this time around we have /home/Alice. So previously we had /home/Janice, which has changed to /home/Alice. All right. Also, we can change the user's login shell using the -s option. All right. So let's check the login shell for Patrick. So I'm going to run the command cat etc password grep -i Patrick. So here we can see the login shell is the Bourne shell. So we are going to change this to Bourne again shell. And to do so, I'm going to run the usermod command with the -s option. All right, then I'm going to specify the login shell. So in this case, we are changing it from Bourne shell to Bourne again shell, like that. Then I'm going to specify the username, in this case Patrick, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, now let me confirm the entry. So I'm going to run the cat command again, And as you can see, we have switched from the born shell to the born again shell. All right. So those are a few commands that you can use with usermod to change the user attributes. All right. So in the next section, we're going to see how to delete a user from a Linux system. In Linux, the userdel command is used to delete a user account and its related files. So the command takes the following syntax. So run the command sudo, then followed by userdel, followed by the username. So in this case, let me specify a user called Bob. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. So the user Bob has been deleted from the system. And to confirm this, I can just run the command id Bob. So as you can see, there's no such user called Bob. However, the home directory for the user Bob still exists. And to do so, you can run the ls command like this. So as you can see, we still have the home directory for the user called Bob. And to get rid of this directory, you'd have now to run the command sudo rm-r with the -r option. Then you specify the home directory for the user Bob like this. All right. So let me hit enter. So once again, let me confirm that the home directory does not exist. Okay. So you can see we have removed the user Bob as well as its home directory. Now, there's an easier way of deleting both the user and the home directory. And to do so, you can run the command sudo userdel with the -r option. Okay. So now let me delete the user called Patrick. So I'm going to specify Patrick like that. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay. So as you can see, we get a notification here. Patrick not found. All right. So now let's check if the user Patrick exists. So I'm going to run the command id Patrick. So you can see there's no user called Patrick. Let's check if Patrick's home directory exists. So I'm going to run the ls command. And as you can see, we do not have the home directory for Patrick. So if you want to remove the home directory of a user, pass the -r option. Now let's see. Let's check out another example. So now, how about forcefully deleting a user in Linux? So to forcefully delete a user, you use the -f option. And this is mostly used when you want to delete a user even though they're currently logged in. So now I'm going to check the currently logged in users by running the command w. So from the command, you can see the user Mary is currently logged in, and these are the details. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and remove the user in the normal way. So let's see if we can remove the user using the normal userdel command without any option. So if I try to remove the user Mary like that, you're going to get the notification that the user Mary is currently logged in by this PID. Now to remove the user, simply pass the -f option. So here I'm going to say userdel with the -f option, then followed by the user, in this case Mary, and I'm going to hit enter. So you'll get this notification here. All right, but don't worry about this. The truth is the user has been removed, and you can check by running the command id Mary. So as you can see, there's no user called Mary on the system. Okay. And we can also confirm this by running the cat etc password. Then you're going to pipe this to grep-i Mary. As you can see, there's no entry for the user Mary. Alright, so those are just a few examples of how you can delete a user in Linux. So you can see we use the userdel command, and you can use the -r option to delete the user and the home directory, and the -f flag to forcefully delete a user even though they're logged into the system. And that's it for this lecture. Thank you for coming this far. And in this lecture, we have seen how to add a user in Linux. We have also seen how to change the user attributes using the usermod command, and also how to delete the user using the userdel command and its various options. So thank you for coming this far. Subscribe to our channel and like this video. See you in the next lecture.